What if I told you one of the most powerful ways to bend reality, and you may be already doing it, and no, it's not law of attraction. Hey guys, it's Sarah. I'm back at it again with another video. Whenever you hear thoughts become things, the most important part is being left out. Okay, so we already know by now that just an individual thought on its own isn't as powerful. Thoughts really only become powerful when they become beliefs in that, and those beliefs become ingrained in the subconscious mind. But there's also something that is very well known in esoteric circles, and that is thought forms. Okay, so what are thought forms? So to understand what thought forms are, we have to move beyond our physical reality and move to the invisible. When you repeatedly think a thought and relating thoughts, and you empower them either by attaching a lot of emotion to them, which can happen subconsciously, or if you intentionally charge them up with energy, they start to form an invisible entity. And they either attach to your energy body or they roam around in the etheric or astral plane, and then they return to you. So before I go into examples, I want you to think of them more as patterns that show up in your life. Something that always happens, either if it seems kind of random or weird, it's probably a thought form. And the thing about them is that even though you can have your own thought forms that are personal to you, there are some that hang out in the collective, or some that increase in power by the way other people perceive things. So other people could be feeding into them. So now let me give you some examples. There's this weird thing called the jinx. So maybe it happened to you before, where you had this mysterious string of bad luck, and it didn't really matter what you did, and just all over weird negative events were happening. Even though they weren't related to each other, that's the jinx thought form. And another example is, let's think of a gambler at the casino that always wins. And he always has this mysterious good luck, even at games that are pure chance, so where there's no skill involved, right? So you see, winning is very exciting. So automatically, there's a lot of energy to charge up this thought form that he's a winner. He always wins at the casino. And now imagine the people around the gambler perceiving him winning, and they already know him. And he keeps coming back to the casino, and they all charge him up as well. Or another common occurrence that can't be explained by skill is you could always find parking. So that's also a pattern, but it is absolutely not explained by skill. Those are all events that are related to probability, but why is it that certain people have this weird luck going on? And things that are entirely related to probability, those are thought forms. So I think you get where I'm going here. If you think of the concept that your outer world is a reflection of your inner world, and that there's this whole invisible dimension, the astral plane, the astral world, etheric plane, then it makes sense that repeating thoughts, especially when they're charged up by a lot of emotion, would take an actual form. And that they would get even stronger if a whole group of people or a whole collective is thinking them. So maybe if you've been watching my other videos, you've heard me speak about Hermeticism before. And this is pretty much where the universal laws come from. And the first Hermetic law is the law of mentalism. And the law states that all is mind, the universe is mental. And it's basically about everything starting in the mind and our world being a projection of the mind. And at the same time, us humans being the result of the infinite mind, or God, whatever you want to call it. So it goes both ways. So, and we're all connected to each other that way as well. It's this whole concept of being the dreamer and also being the dreamt. I don't know if I'm saying that right, but I think you get where I'm getting here. So I'm mentioning this law because if you're thinking more in terms of consciousness, it all starts to make a lot more sense. And now once we get to the collective level, and entire groups creating thought forms, I have to talk about egregores. Now, the Wikipedia definition of an egregore is an esoteric concept representing a non-physical entity or thought form that arises from the collective thoughts and emotions of a distinct group of individuals. So that's the definition. But here's a real difference to regular thought forms. So when a lot of people over a long time put lots of energy into a common cause or an ideology, they will eventually create an egregore, which is an artificial spirit, if you want to view it that way, or an energy form, and it can act on its own, and it can literally brainwash people. I've been fascinated with this for a long time, and anytime I see a crazy conspiracy theory and people being brainwashed and totally consumed by it, yeah, that's an egregore. And don't get me wrong, manipulation tactics and mental illness are a thing, and they totally play into this. But on an energetic level, it's an egregore. And if you go back a few thousand of years, long before the Abrahamic religions, there were all these local pagan gods or nature spirits and whatnot. So there's probably tens of thousands of religions and different gods. And there's this whole theory that they are all egregores, that were created by people thinking the same thing, creating an image of them, associating them with certain theme like love or wealth or whatever, and then worshiping them and giving all this energy to them. And I think this is probably true. A lot of them are probably a creation of our human minds, but there's no way to know. And I posted a Lakshmi mantra video on my channel before. So Lakshmi is the Hindu goddess of wealth. But now, if you think in terms of an egregore, is she really this goddess, or did she start as the goddess, or is she a representation for wealth consciousness? And by chanting the mantra, you're tapping into the frequency of wealth, and that's why it attracts money. But yeah, same goes for any gods. And I don't mean this with disrespect, because the funny thing is, even if they were created by the human mind, they would still be real in a sense, because if millions of people believe in them and worship them, it would create this energy form and this consciousness. So you see what I mean? All I know is I won't get the answer until I die and go to the other side. And everything else is just speculation. We won't know. But back to just regular thought forms. So I've known about them for a long time, and I experimented with them. And then years ago, when I took my pranic psychotherapy class, I was amazed that in pranic healing, thought forms are a thing as well. Sometimes they're called thought entities, but same thing. And negative thought forms and pranic healings, they are seen as these tiny little critters that hang out on your aura, on your chakras, and they're dirt. They have to go away, basically. And then during a psychotherapy healing session, we go in and we destroy them. And I can just tell you that when I'm really deep into a healing, at times I have seen them in my third eye, and they appear to me almost as these little roaches. And I know that sounds a little bit out there, but hey, now back to manifestation and how to create them. As I said before, you probably have been creating them already without noticing. And if you want to create one, it is really easy. You just go into meditation. You visualize what you want, and then you focus on the energy flow in your body. And you can imagine energy coming from the universe through your crown chakra and then out of your hands. And another way would be to imagine that the universe is inside of your body, and then you think of the galaxies and think of the bright light of the stars. And then again, you focus on the palms of your hands. And either way, then once you have that energy in the palms of your hands, you feel and you picture that bright energy coming out of your palms. And then you form an energy ball. And then inside of the energy ball, you would visualize what you're trying to manifest, and then you basically throw it out in the universe. You send it away. So if anyone asks, what is this energy or where does it come from? It's just universal energy or chi or prana, and it's mixed with your own. You already have a bunch of prana flowing through your body at all times, whether you know it or not, because the minute you don't, your physical body dies. I can just tell you that whenever I have used this technique, those are the times where I had things happen exactly the way I put them in the thought form. Exactly, I've seen them in the visualization, and yeah, it's trippy. So sometimes I make one, and sometimes I would make one and I would think, oh no, that didn't work. And then I forget about it. And then one day it happens and I'm just like, wait, this is almost like a deja vu because it's so accurate. So they are pretty cool. There's also a lot more complex and advanced thought forms. But yeah, you should be experimenting with this. Actually, in a past course that I stopped selling, I actually included instructions and a meditation on how to create one. So maybe you're already familiar with this from me. And I hope that this video inspired you to pay more attention to the patterns that you notice in your life. And if it's something that you don't like, try to create something that works better for you. And now you have the instructions. And I just really love this subject. I'm super fascinated by it. I could be talking about it all day. And yeah, if you enjoyed this video, please subscribe. Links to my removing money blockages, meditations, and my money magnetizer toolkit you can find below. If you want to work with me directly, you can also find that link below as well. And other than that, I see you in the next video, guys. Bye!